I hate to break the fishing news up, Yaremchuk, but I'd like to speak about the ice hockey.
Congratulations, you're one of the 13 listeners of the Real Life Podcast.
We just traded a migraine in for like an orgasm.
Might want to mark that down, Yaremchuk.
Yep. All of my projects are on schedule until they're not.
A member of the Nation Network of Podcasts.
About as funny as we're going to get today.
Welcome into the Real Life Podcast Monday edition. I believe this is episode 198. I'm not 100%.
201, actually.
Really? We're at 201 already?
You betcha.
I have been writing these down very wrong for a few weeks then. Episode 201 of the Real Life Podcast. We didn't even celebrate the fact that episode 200 was the day before or 2 days before hockey returns. But
I did laugh because I wasn't on the podcast on Thursday.
Yeah.
I was doing some stuff with our friends at Oddshark, but it did make me laugh when you sent over the article to go up on the site, and it was episode 190, whatever. Yeah. I was like, no, we're a few off. That's okay. Math is not your strong suit, as we learned.
No, I always need a calculator on me. That other voice you hear is Bagged Milk, and he's the only one joining me on this holiday Monday to talk a little hockey. Everyone else either bailed out or didn't look at the group chat. So, we're recording a little bit earlier than we usually do because we want to get this out nice and early for everyone listening at home. But there is... Man, after 3 months of having jack shit to talk about, it feels good to look at like 6 topics on my piece of paper and go, damn, there's some interesting stuff we can tackle today.
And, yes, you're 1,000% right. But it was also like on Saturday, obviously, we're going to recap game one, was hard to watch. But like, it was kind of funny because the buildup was so crazy. So much hype for game one. Everybody was excited. It was a beautiful day in Edmonton. Beers were flowing. Yeah. And then the Oilers just didn't show up. It was nice to watch hockey again. It was also, in a strange way, nice to get angry about the Oilers again. And it was that same familiar feeling I've had so many times. I actually had a tweet that blew up a little bit saying, well, it's nice to have that feeling of murderous rage back in my heart when it comes to the Oilers. So like, I don't know, man. It was a lot of hype. I guess the boys weren't on the same page.
Yeah, clearly not. Like, McDavid scores that goal early, and even though they gave up those 2 odd man rushes off the bat, it was kind of like, all right, like, here we go. They're feeling it. And then, nothing else went right after that. I mean, they made it 4-2, and at that point, you're like, okay, comeback season. I sent out that tweet telling everyone to shotgun a beer. And then, again, just quickly falls apart right after that. In a weird way, though, like you talked about how you missed the feeling of having murderous rage watching the Oilers. In a weird way, I sat there after, and once I had calmed down and was not angry anymore, I was like, this is kind of what we've been craving throughout the decade of darkness, right? Like, you wanted to be on pins and needles waiting like 48 hours for the next game. Oilers have their backs against the wall tonight against Chicago as well. Like, this is what the playoffs is all about. It's about having this sort of like nervous energy and this anxiety heading into a game. Like, we're going to watch the Oilers tonight play a massive hockey game, and that's exciting.
It's very exciting, and I'm still super hopeful. I'm still pumped. I mean, like, if I'm thinking it through, in 2017, I was at game one against the Sharks. They lost. It all turned out fine. But again, there's a lot more pressure because it's a short series. Mm-hmm. It's a 5-game series, and you gave me a stat before we started recording here that was not great.
Yeah, it was when the NHL was doing their best of 5 series, which they haven't done for a while. Teams that go down 2-0 are 1-55. So 1 for 56 if you go down 2-0 in the series. Granted, it's a different NHL nowadays, but that is not a very encouraging stat.
No, so it just shows like the Oilers have to be prepared to play today. They were not on Saturday. They just weren't. From the crease on out, outside of the power play, there was not much to really look at as a positive on Saturday night. And I think that was disappointing. But again, I'm hopeful that tonight in game 2, we're not going to see the same thing. I just can't believe that the Oilers are going to be that flat again.
I wrote about this a little bit on the site, and as I was searching for reasons to be optimistic last night, in a way, like, the goaltending was not good enough for the Oilers. Their offense was not good enough at 5-on-5. Their defense was shaky at best. Ton of coverage issues. All of those things went wrong. Their penalty kill was sloppy. They weren't disciplined. How many more can I rattle off here? But all those things go wrong, and they lose by 2. And I mean, if James Neal scores on that shot with 2.5 minutes left, I think that game suddenly gets even more interesting. But they only lost by 2. If they correct 1, 2, 3 of those 5 issues I just named, I think they'll be fine tonight.
Well, and I think too, like, honestly, I had the vibe in the third period. Like, I know this is all land of make believe, but like, if there was an extra 5 minutes on the game, I truly believe they would have completed the comeback and at least tied it. They looked so flat in the first McDavid scored early, that was great, but they looked flat for the first 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the last kind of 15, they turned it on and looked more like what they needed to do. So if they can play like they did at the tail end of the third period, let's say the last 15 minutes of the third period, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. And I also like that Tippett switched it up today. He's going out with Mikko Koskinen for game 2.
Right,
I agree with you. I do think that, obviously hindsight, but I would have liked to see him pull Smith probably sooner than he did. Because by the time he came out after that 5th goal, the game was over.
It should have been Koskinen to start the second, right? Like, even if he didn't want to pull them in the middle of the period and wanted to see if his team could wake up, they hadn't woken up by the end of the first 20 minutes. And I think you should have gone with Mikko to start. They made it 4-2, and then you're right. By the time that 5th goal goes in and it's 5-2, it's insurmountable at that point. Like, to ask yourself, and I know the Oilers are dynamic, and hell, they almost did it. But again, they almost did it. They didn't do it. And I think asking a team to score 3-4 goals in the final 30 minutes of a game is a tough thing to do, especially when the other team's basically just in lockdown mode. So I'm happy that they're going with Koskinen tonight. It'll be his first career playoff start. But when you look over to his career in Russia, I talked about this on my pregame podcast, which is up now. He has some amazing, amazing numbers in the KHL in the playoffs. I'm pulling them up right now. He played 77 games in the KHL playoffs, and in that time, he has a 164 goals against average and a 938 save percentage. So, again, it's not quite the same thing, but there's also a part of me that goes, right now they're playing in empty arenas. It's not the same as the normal NHL playoffs, and I think the pressure he's facing, like, he faced pressure in the KHL. He cared about those games. Those were big games. Like, maybe he is kind of a big game goalie, and we're about to find out that he can do it at the NHL level as well.
I certainly hope so. Like, that's, what else can you say, right? We need Koskinen to come up big tonight. We need him to be solid. We need him to provide the kind of goaltending that he did in relief on Saturday and in his 30 minutes and change in the exhibition game against Calgary. If he plays that way and the Oilers can tighten up a little bit, then we're in good shape. And I feel good about game 2.
Yeah, and again, the 5-on-5 scoring has to be better. Tippett this morning, like you said, confirms that Koskinen is starting. No word yet on the forward lines because, again, media aren't allowed to watch the practices. So if Tippett doesn't tell them what's going on, no one really knows what's going on. But Ryan Rishaug floated out a couple of interesting ideas or a couple of interesting things that might happen with the lineup. The first one he had was could potentially see Nugent Hopkins go back to the Draisaitl Yamamoto line and Ennis go up to the top line. The tough part here is, if you're Dave Tippett, do you change up the lines because they didn't work in game 1, or do you say, you know what, I had to give him that 60 minutes to get comfortable and get going. I want to stick with it. What would you do? Would you put Nuge back on that line?
Well, yes, I would, because the reality was, from New Year's onward, Nuge, Draisaitl, Yamamoto was the hottest line in hockey. So I get why he wants to spread the offense out a little bit. I get why he wants somebody with a little bit that can finish on Connor McDavid's wing as well as Cassian. But I have a really hard time understanding why you would want to break up a line that was just lethal for months. And those 3 guys seem to work so well together that I hope Rishaug's right, to be honest.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Yeah, I think you do kind of need to go back to that line. It worked for so long, and I know the last couple of games of the season, they didn't have that trio together, but you need a spark and go back to what you know works. So as much as it sucks that you're kind of weakening the line, weakening McDavid's line by taking Nuge off it, I think that might even be a little bit of a wake-up call. The other line change that he floated out was potentially Cassian and Archibald swapping, and Cassian's the type of player who he needs a wake-up call from time to time, and he usually responds to it as well. I wonder if we'll see Tippett take Cassian off that line for 20 minutes and then put him right back out there.
I was wondering if we were going to get this, Tyler. We got a little pop-in mid-podcast.
There we go.
Hey, what's going on, boys?
Oh, just talking about the Oilers' disappointing loss. What's going on with you?
I'm equally disappointed, but supremely excited for what's about to go down tonight.
We just finished talking about the goaltending, Mikko Koskinen getting the start tonight. We're talking about the forward lines right now. Rashog floated out the idea of potentially putting back Nugent Hopkins, Yamamoto, and Draisaitl as a trio. He also floated out the idea of taking Cassian off the top line in favor of Josh Archibald. What's your take on that, Jay?
You know what? I think bringing back the Yams dry Nuge line is a great idea. Archibald, I don't mind giving him a shot because that guy plays playoff hockey like Cassian should. So I don't mixing that up and giving him a shot either because he can also match with McDavid because our boy can move.
The one line I was actually surprisingly impressed with, again, I liked them in the exhibition game and I liked them in game one, was the Neil Chase-on Kara line. Like, I think Neil and Kara both played really, really solid games against Chicago, and it's not a trio that needs to score you a goal, but they go and they put some pressure on the Hawks defense, and I thought they did a lot of positive things on the ice, and there wasn't a lot of negative necessarily. For a fourth line, I thought they had a good game there, and maybe you look at James Neal, who had his boots going in game one. Maybe he should get a look up there.
I don't mind that either. He definitely, like, you could tell he was clearly injured this year because I have not seen him move his feet like he did in that game all year. So I think he's also a valid choice for sure. And he's heavy, right? Yeah. He plays heavy hockey. He's built for playoffs. So, this is a guy that could get some success. So I think it's worth giving him a shot too.
Well, and also if we're gonna look at James Neal going up there, this is a guy that's played a lot of playoff hockey as well in terms of looking at him compared to the rest of the lineup. So I have no problem with that. This will be his 106th playoff game. He's got 56 total points, 32 goals, 24 assists. So I wouldn't mind that. I mean, the guy, he seems to crank it up in the postseason, and we'll see what happens because if you look at his time in Pittsburgh and Nashville and Vegas, he was a contributor with all those teams. So we need everybody to be chipping in here is the reality. And James Neal scored a goal in game one, obviously a little bit too little too late, but I also agree with Tyler that I didn't mind that line at all.
Before we keep moving on the podcast, need to let you know that, as always, we're sponsored by Japa Machinery. 815s, Packers, asphalt rollers, excavators, and more. All available, japamachinery.com. Check them out on Instagram and Twitter as well. The 50-50 got a lot of the story or a lot of headlines, sort of. It was getting so busy that the system was crashing, and some people were saying they were charged twice, whatever. It was basically... Oilers fans responded the exact way you thought they'd respond to being able to buy 50-50 tickets from home. Did you guys buy your tickets?
Oh,
I couldn't.
What?
I tried. All of us tried. I'm on a cabin, and we all tried to buy. And when it's like submit order button, like it would never populate. It was always grayed out, and you couldn't push it to get the order in. So none of us could get our 50-50 tickets.
Damn. Yeah, it
crashed
Alberta a couple times.
Well, I'm in Alberta. My location settings were on. Everything was legit. Yeah, I know. So that was disappointing. So and this goes back to I think it had a chance to go over $1 million was my vote, and the system's failing me here. You can't disrupt the flow of 50-50 commerce because oil country will come flowing in. So let's get the bugs. Let's get the dev team on the case. Sort out that problem, and let's see where we can push this sucker.
Do you guys want to take a stab at what the pot's already at for today?
I mean,
grand.
Yeah, if it opened at 9:30 again, I'm gonna guess, and it's holiday Monday as well, so most people are home. I'm gonna go ahead and say we're already pushing 200K.
Yeah, we're at 291K right now, so you might want to get your tickets purchased before the system just turns around and crashes on us once again. Go.
Speaking of turnaround and crashing, I got to bring up this take that has since been deleted off Twitter. I don't know if you guys saw it. It came from Adrian Dater.
He deleted it?
He deleted it.
Fuck.
So his tweet says, well, those screenshots live forever. Regretting my Oilers pick over Chicago. Connor McDavid is a brilliant talent, but a personality deficient guy. I think his blandness rubs off too much on his teammates. Happy to hear opinions on the contrary, but fact is, he doesn't inspire others.
Oh, God.
in terms of scorching hot takes, I don't know. Like, is there one hotter than that?
That is such a reach. Like, between that guy and Wild, I don't know who's fucking stupider.
Yeah.
To say that he doesn't inspire others, and I'm assuming that Adrian Dater has spent a total of very little, if not zero, time around Connor outside of what he sees in the media. So, like, I honestly, when I saw this, because it got retweeted into my timeline a bunch of times, I laughed out loud. It was hilarious.
Well, especially because
silly.
hockey culture loves pumping up guys like Crosby and Taves as being like these stoic, serious characters that only care about winning. But when McDavid's like that, it's like, well, fuck these Oilers, man. They're in trouble. That's not my captain.
NHL fandom just can't they just can't be at peace that Edmonton has nice things. And they always have to find some stupid take. What I found interesting is, was an Oiler for about 3 seconds, Chris Weidman jumping in to Connor's defense, saying kind of what kind of leader he is and how he is an inspiration.
Yeah, so Chris Weidman, here's the tweet. He quote tweeted Dater in all caps and said, "Wrong. 97 is legit on and off the ice. My short time in Edmonton, I couldn't believe some of the things I saw. From playing 28 minutes as a forward and first one in the gym postgame to requesting to be served his meal last on postgame flights because he was scratched. True leader. He doesn't need to justify his passion and personality through the media. He does it in the room as it should be done." So you got Dater, a guy who has probably never really talked one-on-one with Connor McDavid or, been around him very often. And then you have a guy in Chris Weidman who played on the Oilers with Connor McDavid as his captain, jumping to his defense. So I think the idea that McDavid makes the Oilers players bored or something, like the whole idea, and he deleted it because of course he did. He's a hack. And he deletes it and doesn't even offer up like here's what I really went. He just deleted it because he's scared.
He got lit up.
Yeah, he got lit up. He got ratioed and he ran away from the problem instead of being like, let me explain myself a little bit more, because the take was so fucking bad, he probably couldn't explain himself anymore.
We need to come up with some kind of hot take award, because I can't think of something just so dumb as what he tweeted out after game one. Like, I didn't see Connor's post-game interview. I myself was burying myself in booze because I was angry. But I imagine Connor was just as pissed off as the rest of us. And when he is mad, he doesn't really give all that long answers.
No.
So to me, that shows all the personality you need. I don't want Connor to be chatty after a loss. I want him to be mad. And I'm going to I would bet the farm, which is now my thing apparently.
Yeah.
I would bet the farm that Connor was just as mad as everyone would expect him to be.
I think tonight we're going to see a very pissed off Connor McDavid. I think he's just going to be dialed in and he's laser focused and he's going to be angry.
And you know what? If I'm the Blackhawks, I don't want angry Connor.
No.
I just can't imagine angry Connor being good news for them. And I hope Leon's also angry.
Mm-hmm.
Those two, if they're pissed off, and let's say that they do reunite Nudramoto, then, I got good feelings about tonight. I really do. And you know what? I even put my money where my mouth is on it, Tyler, because I'm a degenerate these days.
So if you missed it, after Friday's episode of Oilers Nation Radio, or while we were recording, Bag Milk decided he is in on the sports betting game. So we got him all hooked up. Yes, Jay, thank you for showing the camera to your friends. You got friends.
He's bragging about his friends.
I've got friends. I love how Bagmel's turning into a degenerate gambler.
So Bagmel, take us through your first sort of weekend of live sports betting.
You know what? I did okay. I did okay. I bet on Leon Draisaitl to go over 2.5 shots. I won that one. I bet Ryan Nugent-Hopkins would score a goal. I won that one.
Right
I bet
at the Panarin
would. Right at the end. Because it was funny because I had tweeted at you that I had lost that bet. And then he scored 2 seconds later. I bet on Panarin getting over 2.5 shots, so I won on that one. The only one I lost on opening day was I bet the Oilers to win in regulation.
That was the only one I lost too when it comes to the Oilers game. I had the Oilers in reg, and then I also had Clefbaum to get a point, which is, again, tonight, my pregame podcast, Bet of the Game. Go check out the pregame pod. It's up on the site. I also had Draisaitl over shots, and then, I missed on Oilers and reg.
I made a cheeky bet yesterday. My buddy texted me. and he's like, "We've got to form a win the kit and put a sizable bet on Columbus to beat the Leafs in the series." So I got a lot of meat and potatoes on the Columbus Blue Jackets because I believe they'll just manhandle the Maple Leafs. So far, so good.
That kind of ties into my next topic here. We've gotten a chance to see every series now go through at least one game. I've always been a backer of the Columbus Blue Jackets, so I loved watching them just stifle the Leafs. And I think the Jackets are a team that deserves way more respect than they get. They have so many underrated players. Like Cam Atkinson scored 40 goals last year, and no one talked about it. Seth Jones should be a Norris candidate or right up there every season. So I liked watching that one. What series kind of grabbed your guys' attention?
I'm vibing. I'm vibing the Carolina Rangers series. Like there's a lot. It is heated, and Carolina is. I just hate these words coming out of my mouth, but they are a fucking hot pistol right now.
I had
That's why I also bet on them to win the Stanley Cup at 45-1. Thank you.
Oh wow! Look at you throwing some money around, Jay.
Well, it's the silly season because it doesn't feel real right now. So I didn't like the fact that sports is back doesn't feel real, and so the fact that I'm taxing my credit card to bet doesn't feel real right now. Like it's so weird right now. I'm just betting on pure I'm just operating on a pure emotion and elation right now. So it's going to cost me a lot of money.
To me, I had a good time watching the Jets and Flames, to be honest. Those, like with everything with the Kachuk and Scheifele, that series is going to be angry. And it was fun. I got to say it was fun. I didn't like the result. I would prefer to see the Jets win this one over Calgary, but I think that series is going to be fun to watch. And also, if we're talking about Saturday bets, Tyler, I bet regulation that the Penguins would beat Montreal in regulation, and I lost. So it's like the thrill of the victory and the crushing blow of defeat all in the same day. Like this betting shenanigans is gonna get me in a whole lot of trouble.
As it can. We're a little inside the podcast here. As we're recording this, I got my 2 TV set up. So I got the one on the Raptors-Miami game, which I'm betting on, got Raptors -3. And the Jets-Flames game is just about to get going here. Jay, I don't know if you saw this, but the Hurricanes won again today against the Rangers, so a 4-1 victory for them. Playoff hat trick for Andrei Svechnikov as well. I'm not sure if anyone had Andrei Svechnikov in our playoff hockey pool or our podcast hockey pool. I have those standings up in front of me right now. Jay, what's your team name?
Did we lose him?
Jay, are you there?
No, I'm here.
Okay, what's your team name in the pool?
Oh, well, full disclosure, I don't remember because I was feeling the pressure and I was at the lake and I had a few pops, so I can't remember what I put in there.
Are you Irish buttercream?
Am I leading? Am I not? Oh, I'm Irish butter.
Yeah, are you?
Yeah.
You're tied for second. You're 4 points back of Mick Yamseidel, who is, I don't know who they are, but right behind him is Jordan Buhat. He's also tied for second with you, friend of the podcast. Oh, Rick's in first. Rick is Mick Yamseidel. So Rick's leading the pack. Got Jordan Buhat in second.
Happen.
Third, tied for second, we got Buhat, Chris Seger from Striker, Jay Downton, Nation Dan, and Wanye. So that's a packed leaderboard. And then you go all the way down to the bottom, and I'm in dead last, tied for 27th, and Bagged Milk is just a couple spots ahead of me as well. So me and Bagged Milk got quite a ways to go. Chalmers is in the middle of the pack, tied for 15th.
Well, I got to tell you, having the Bruins lose as badly as they did yesterday did not help my playoff pool.
Oh, there's so many upsets going on, but it's crazy.
Yeah, that Pittsburgh-Montreal game tonight is going to be a doozy as well because, Jay, you missed this stat off the top. Teams that go down 2-0 in a series, in a best-of-5 series in the NHL, are just 1-55 all time.
Oh, really? Uh-oh.
So there's some pressure facing these 5 seeds today.
Well, I can lock of the week. Oilers are going to pump the Blackhawks tonight, and if you want to parlay that with a Pittsburgh Penguins victory,
I kind of do.
I think that's easy money.
Yeah, I might follow you on that.
I've got some money on Oilers winning in regulation tonight as well. And I also have money on them winning the first period. So I feel like I've also got easy money coming to me tonight.
I was chatting with Scott Hastings, who's going to be our Odd Shark insider. He's not doing the show today because it's Holiday Monday, but next Monday he's going to be back. And he wanted me to let you guys know that he's pushing for the Oilers to even up the series tonight.
Hell yeah.
He's a good man.
I've got to drop out of here, guys, because I'm in northern Alberta and I'm hitting a dead spot. But let's go Oilers! I miss you guys. We need it. We need to bring the win. Everyone do whatever they need to do to get the Oilers to win. I know you do whatever. I know deep down inside your Chuck, you're superstitious and you don't want to admit it. So just do whatever your fucking dark magic shit is to do to get the Oilers to win. Let's make some money tonight and let's celebrate and let's get this back on the rails because we have to go deep.
There you go.
Agreed.
A great way for Jay Downton to dip out of the podcast here by firing up Oilers fans.
Later.
Should remind you, the podcast brought to you by Japa, also brought to you by Oodle Noodle. Didn't get a chance to ask Jay for a charity update, but we'll get that again on Thursday because we do this podcast twice a week now. Oilers and Hawks tonight at 8:30. You got a score prediction, Bag Milk. What do you think is going to happen here? Like, it's easy to say and be like, the Oilers are going to pump them. I think we could see. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 5-2 Oilers.
I'm going to go a little bit more reserved on that, just in terms of output. I'm going to say 3-1. I think Mikko comes up big tonight. I think Mikko Koskinen tonight has the opportunity to really grab the net for the Oilers in the playoffs, and I don't think he's going to let the opportunity pass. So I've got big hopes on Mikko.
I want to see like a new level of McDavid. I want to see a playoff caliber Connor McDavid, just dialed in, angry, getting real fired up. How fired up would you be if we saw a Connor McDavid goal rip down the ice and then you get the big celly in front of the Hawks bench? Whew.
And I need it. I need it after Monday. I think that Connor's got the opportunity to do it. I truly believe he's going to be really pissed off about how Saturday went, and that is going to bother him. And that is going to turn him into Super Connor, which is obviously a problem for the Chicago Blackhawks. So I would love your prediction of 5-2 to come through. I think they have an opportunity to do it. And like you said, with that stat, the 1 in 55 or whatever it was, they have to do it. There's no other option. This is a must-win hockey game.
Absolutely. You teased a couple of your bets to Jay. I wouldn't mind me and you just giving a few of ours out right now. Get in with the listeners a little bit here. Me and you cheering together for the same bets. So what did you say you were doing here for the Oilers game?
So far, and I'm looking around now, I might put some other bets down, to be honest, because like I said, I'm turning into a degenerate. But so far, I've got the Oilers to win the first period.
Okay.
And that's at plus 155.
Ooh. But it can't be a tie, so that's not first period money line. That's first period three-way. So plus 155. All right.
Yep. And then I've also got Oilers in regulation at plus 125.
And then I also have Oscar Klefbom to get a point at plus 105 and Connor McDavid to get more than 1.5 points at plus 110. So those are the four I'm rolling with.
I feel like we're going to make some money tonight, pal.
Yeah. I like our chances here. I also
I really
might go.
You know what? If I go full degenerate, I got to tell you, these the final score predictions.
Oh man.
If you hit one of those,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
One of my
if I turn full degen here at some point, I just feel like I'm gonna start dipping into those.
You can also do first period correct score, and I've actually won some money on that. I'll usually just go instead of the Oilers being up after the first, which pays plus 155, I'll go and put half a unit on them to be up 1-0, a bit on them for it to be tied 0-0, and a bit on it to be 2-0, and you almost cover all of your bases in that way.
It's man, this is a problem. This is you open Pandora's box here, and I don't know.
The last bet I wanted to share with the listeners: last game, these two teams combined for a total of 71 shots on net. The over/under for combined shots on net is 61.5. So I think I'm adding that into my book as well.
Yeah, what did it finish off at? There was 42 for the Blackhawks.
Yeah, 71. For the Oilers, so they crushed.
There was plenty.
So I wouldn't be surprised.
And you're going to the over?
Yeah, I'm going to take the over on that as well. So those are my 5. I like the first period bet there. Oilers in regulation as well, and then Klefbom over 0.5 point, McDavid over 1.5, shot total over as well. Bang! There you go.
You know what? I'm doing shot total over too. I like that.
All right, that's good.
All right, I'm full degen.
We're dialed in. I love too. I've had listeners of the podcast DMing me and stuff, being like, "Oh man, I'm watching the end of this game. I'm so dialed in right now. I got this bet, and this bet." People like when I tweet out my bets of the game as well. So it's all good. It's bringing us together, which is nice.
And you know what?
It's fun. Like, as long as you're not giving yourself like crippling debt from this, like, bet what you can afford. If your unit's $5, your unit's $5. If your unit's 20, it's whatever. Some guy DM'd me, I was like, I'm putting $1,000 on a series. What should I do? And I was like, please don't ask me for advice on that, because I don't want the guilt associated with being wrong and costing you $1,000.
Yeah. So like, I'm just going to go ahead and say, just because you brought that up, like, I'm only putting $4 or $5 on these bets at a time. It's not like I'm putting major smoke on them, because I want to have fun with this.
You don't want it all to be gone in a day.
Yeah, and you know what? It creates like a little bit of a different feeling as you're watching the game. So, you know, a couple dollars here and there, it's fine. But like Tyler said, if you're betting $1,000 on a series, please don't do that.
All right, we said we'd only go 30 minutes, so that's kind of going to do it. The last thing I actually wanted to touch on, the NHL released a statement today on their COVID testing protocols and updates. They had administered over 7,000 tests in the first week of its Phase 4 return to play. 0 positive tests came back. That includes everything from the players, the staff, the NHL officials, the NHL employees, all of that stuff. They said that in the first week of its Phase 4 return to play, with no positive test results for COVID-19 among the 7,013 tests administered. So that is great news. Maybe, again, this was one of those weeks you had circled as one where you'd be nervous there might be an outbreak. There is certainly not going to be one. I feel pretty safe in saying that now. That's fantastic.
You know what? After all of this time and waiting and watching how COVID is spread and is so easily spread, and sports trying to come back, the fact that the NHL has been able to pull this off, you know, we're through the first weekend of the playoffs. All the teams are locked in the 2 separate bubbles, and to have 0 positive results coming back, that's great news, man. That is great news. It makes me so happy to see that. First of all, it's easy to say, okay, everybody's got to wear a mask and you're all going to be in the bubble and blah, 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 blah. But the players and the officials and the staff, they all need to buy into it as well. And the fact that the NHL players have, and I just think of what's going on in baseball and looking at the NFL seemingly not having much of a better plan than baseball. It just makes me happy that hockey, everybody's coming together to get this done.
And no drama, right? Like in the NBA, we have guys leaving the bubble. The MLB's had the issue with apparently some Cardinals players were at a casino the night before there was the outbreak on their team. We've had not a single story leak out of the NHL bubble experience being, negative, someone being upset, there being, players trying to sneak out, anything like that. It's been drama-free. This whole process of them returning to play has. So we've given them a ton of credit already, but I want to give them more. The NHL and the NHLPA, thank you for putting all your differences aside, getting that CBA extension done, and giving us hockey back safely.
It just feels good, man. Feels good to watch hockey again. Fanless crowd, whatever.
Who cares?
Chris Cuthbert on the call.
Beauty.
Loving Chris Cuthbert on the call.
Yep.
And it just makes me happy. I can't wait. I mean, it's 12:45 as we're wrapping up the podcast here, and I can't wait for 8:30.
Me too. 8:30 tonight, Oilers and Hawks. Is there going to be a Brumcast after the Oilers win?
You know it, buddy.
There you go. So tune into the official Oilers Nation Instagram account as well, and we'll get into maybe a little bit of Brum after an Oilers victory. The Real Life Podcast brought to you by Japa. Check them out, japamachinery.com. We know Japa's going to be dialed in for the Oilers game tonight as well. We know all you will. So enjoy it. Hopefully we get an Oilers win. Hopefully when we talk on Thursday, on Thursday, we could be sitting there chatting about potentially the Oilers being up 2-1. What a feeling that would be. That's going to do it.
Starts with one, buddy.
Starts with one.
Tonight.
Tonight is that night. Episode 201 of the Real Life Podcast is over.
Great job on making it through the entire hour of the Real Life Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from.